Oh, hey guys, that's Latin for today on Guilty Movie Pleasures. We're covering Event Horizon. That's not really Latin.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
I feel like we're just doing the wobble with it dance right now.
You know what? I'm mixing up the dance moves.
You started it, and I just went. For all of you Latin scholars out there, that was not Latin. And welcome to this week's edition of Guilty Movie Pleasures.
What do you think the crossover is for Latin scholars and Guilty Movie Pleasure watchers?
Several.
Yeah.
Several.
Handfuls.
At least like three.
Bunch of handfuls.
Severals.
Severals.
Yeah.
Three severals.
We are talking the 1997 Paul, before he turned to Paul W.S. Anderson, to not be confused with Paul Thomas Anderson, Paul Anderson classic sci-fi horror film, Event Horizon. Oh man, I just want to, you know what? First off, Jesse McIntosh is back with me.
Here I am.
You want to say hi to the folks out there?
Hi, folks out there.
Hello.
Hi. Are we?
Sure.
Yeah, we're plugging right now.
We're plugging.
What's
Why
up?
not?
You can find me at Too Much Jesse on Twitter. Promlosers.com for sketch coming soon. 86 Charles, a podcast that I contribute to? ?
Always with the question mark.
Because I do like a 2-minute segment every week. I
There
don't
you go.
like do
That's
it really,
a contribution.
but I just swoop in and do the segment. That's it.
It's added up to several.
And you can find me on Guilty Movie Pleasures.
Severals.
Yeah, severals.
Yeah. So I'm Ben Begley. You know me. It's fine. So we're talking about Event Horizon. I just want to jump in because we got a little late of a start. And I want to jump into this movie because I saw this movie in '97 in theaters with my buddy Benny Falkman. Shout out to Ben Falkman out there back in Akron, Ohio. And
he hasn't recovered.
Amazing family.
He's still in Akron. He's like, I can't leave. I saw Event Horizon, and that's been it.
Here's the thing. So here's the genesis of me and scary movies. I'll give it in a nutshell. I was terrified of scary movies until I was 13 when I first saw Scream, and I watched that with the light in the daylight with all the lights on still, even though it was light out, with a bunch of friends, and still that opening 10 minutes freaked me the hell out. I was a wuss, and now I can't get enough of it.
That is a parody. You wrote a horror
movie.
movie.
Now all I write is horror films, and I love it, but I had a very late exposure to horror films. In '97, I would have been 15. I saw this in the theaters, and I remember being like, what the fuck? Because there's some really graphic, crazy...
There's weird stuff in this.
Super
Real
weird Clive Barker shit in here, which the director has said in interviews that he was influenced by Clive Barker and Hellraiser, and Clive Barker actually did some... like advising on it or something like that. He was a consultant.
Told them how to make weird shit.
How to make super weird, sodomizing, torture porn things.
Yeah, can we hang you by pins, ripping your skin apart?
Like the whole Hook thing, which we'll get into all the gory, crazy deaths. So this movie freaked me the hell out when I saw it in theaters. And I remember having weird nightmares about being trapped on a ship like Event Horizon. And then I watched it several times in my late teen, 15 to 20, but then I haven't seen it since. And so I revisited it last night for the first time in probably, I don't know, a decade or so. No, 15 years almost. And I gotta say, it's still awesome.
Yeah.
But it's awesome for a different reason now.
Tell me why it's awesome, and then I'll give you my background with it.
It's just like a 20-minute dissertation on my background of it. But
I have a PowerPoint presentation for those people watching. We're going to clear this back here. We're going to get some clicks
in
going.
1997, I was. Anyways, so now I feel like I love it because it's still the nostalgia factor of what freaked me out, and there are still some shocking images, but now I just view it more as this really awesome, fun B-movie horror film, because I hadn't seen Alien when I was 15. I hadn't seen that yet. I hadn't seen all these movies that this is kind of borrowing and stealing from. But this movie's a blast, and the third act goes completely to crazy town and makes very little sense.
But
it's awesome. Now I like it because it's a guilty movie. When I was 15, I thought it was perfect.
I have a question. Is this based on the evolution of horror films? Like they've gotten more real? Or is this your evolution in terms of a viewer?
No, I don't think so, because I would argue that Alien, which came out way earlier than this...
That scared you?
...is now still a scarier movie than this.
Okay.
A better...
I would have accepted either answer. I was just curious. I just wanted to get to know you
don't get me
a little
wrong.
better.
This movie's fun, and it's probably one of Paul W.S. Anderson's best-made films, which is a low bar to clear.
Better than Death Race 2?
I don't know. Death Race 1 was fantastic.
Death Race 1?
Death Race is fantastic. The first Resident Evil movie is awesome.
When
Mortal Kombat.
When I looked him up, because I was like, Paul Thomas Anderson, I know, Paul W.S. Anderson. Not as familiar with his library of work.
I own most of them.
I mean, now I am, because I looked him up and I didn't realize he was associated with all these films. But there was a Death Race 4 in production.
Get out of here. I need to watch 2 and 3. I got to catch up.
Field trip.
What's your genesis on this? What's your PowerPoint presentation?
So yeah, 2 things. First thing, I don't remember the order in which I saw these movies, but I associate them very closely. The movie It, Stephen King's It, and Event Horizon. I saw them both at parties, like middle school parties.
Oh yeah.
It freaked the shit out of me, and then we slept over, and then the following morning my dad was driving me back home, and the car right in front of us on the highway, the license plate was just It, and that was it.
What
And that was terrifying. That was probably my low moment.
I wish you
in
could
life.
pull up next to it and Pennywise is sitting there like,
I wish I hadn't. I mean, I didn't. And now that you brought it up, I wish that
while you
image
keep
was
going,
not
I'm
in
putting
my
on chapstick. It's
head.
nothing weird.
No, moisten those lips.
Nothing weird.
And then,
It's very dry.
And then Event Horizon, I saw at a party, and I just had my arm around my girlfriend the whole time.
And you were like, oh, I'm not scared.
I was like super boss. Yeah, I was like, I don't even care if I have to pee. I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to move until I am made to move. And that, like, other people were like talking and like doing other stuff during the movie, and like normally I would have engaged with that, and I was like, no, I'm locked into this movie.
So it had
because I'm locked in on this couch, and I watched it again today, and like you said, it was way different than I remember.
Super different.
Yeah.
Well, what's your opinion of it now? If you had never seen it until last night or today or whatever.
It wouldn't have topped my list as far as horror films. Like, it wasn't really that scary.
Yeah.
We'll say, like,
there's some good jump scares. I listened to it with headphones on because Renee was asleep last night, and there's still the scares that scared me in the theater I forgot about, and I was like, jump! Because they do cheap ass, like, super loud, like...
And the glove.
The window's opening and it's super loud, and you're like, ah! There's not even anything scary yet in the movie, but I still jumped.
Yeah, and they did those, like, a couple of false...
This place is a tomb. Whoa, fuck!
Yeah, just the floating glove. Yeah. And then they did the couple of, like, coming out of frozen compartment, like, dream sequences that were sort of alarming.
Which Zack Snyder then borrowed for Batman v Superman.
Well, it's a good movie to borrow from, I guess.
Interstellar borrows the shit out of this movie, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen Interstellar?
I haven't seen Interstellar, yeah.
They literally do the exact same thing to explain in Interstellar, where in this movie, Sam Neill tries to explain, we'll get to that clip. Hey, fuck it, we'll play the science-y clip first, the layman's term. It's the exact...
And Stranger Things does the same thing with the upside down. Exactly the same.
So can we just play the dimensional...
Relativity, yes. We can't break the law of relativity. We can go around it. The ship doesn't really go faster than light. What it does is it creates a dimensional gateway that allows it to jump instantaneously from one point of the universe to another light years away.
How?
Well, it's difficult to... It's all math.
Try us, Doctor.
Right, well, using layman's terms, use a rotating magnetic field to focus a narrow beam of gravitons. These, in turn, fold space-time consistent with Weyl tensor dynamics until the space-time curvature becomes infinitely large and you produce a singularity. Now, the singularity...
Layman's terms.
Well, fuck layman's terms. Do you speak English?
So then he goes on...
Good question.
That's such a great...
Good question.
So then he goes on to go, oh, here. And he takes a centerfold from off the wall and pokes a hole with a pencil. Exactly how they do it in Interstellar.
Yeah.
You basically just have Michael Caine doing it instead. Oh, all right. Matthew McConaughey. Take out the gore. Same movie.
Which makes it more official, I feel like, when those two people are doing it.
I loved Interstellar because I love Christopher Nolan. But that movie would have been way more badass if Matthew McConaughey ended up in hell and not in a fractured, weird... string universe.
It did seem.
Come on,
we're not going to spend a ton of time with this because that went way off the rails. As far as now, he's just like floating through a library and like what?
But imagine if he went to hell and fought weird Hellraiser demons.
Imagine if he went to hell and then came back in the form of a ship.
It'd be even better. Let's combine Christopher Nolan doing Interstellar 2. and borrow from Event Horizon even more. No, I'm sure it's from scientific theory.
Yeah, it's just a
space theory, and
I guess.
Stephen Hawking.
I hope someone fact checked that jumble of words and like that actually made sense, because I literally don't know what he's talking
Sam
about.
Neill is great at that kind of character. He's basically playing his character from Jurassic Park again,
yeah.
where he's so good at spouting off this stuff and making you go, no, that's real, because he said it.
Right.
Because the Dr. Weir said it from,
and he's also
his character in this,
like super attached to the science that he's explaining. So in this like in Jurassic Park, he's super attached to the dinosaurs and like won't let them give up on the dinosaurs.
Loves the ship. He won't let them give up on the ship.
He will not let them give up on the ship.
Same thing.
Good God.
So now, before we get too deep into Event Horizon, the deep space, we're going to do this plot in under 3 minutes. Oh, God, here goes. I've seen it 100 times, and it's still hard to remember everything. So let's do this. Are you ready in the booth, Zach? I'll take that deafening... Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Here we
fired
go.
up.
In 3, 2, 1... Sure, you take it.
Okay, so Sam Neill shows up on the ship, and nothing is explained at first. They shove him into this chamber because they're going to Neptune.
Sequence.
Yeah, they're going to Neptune. So then he comes out, and he's like freaking out a little bit. He has this weird dream coming out of it, and then they like wake him up and they offer him coffee.
And they say, hey, here's the... And he goes, all right, I'll tell you what happened. Here's the last transmission we got. And they're all just really calm to this really alarming transmission. And then they're like, okay, here's what happened. Event Horizon, we thought it blew up. Didn't. It actually disappeared. It reappeared. We're going to go examine it. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so they're like approaching it. They're approaching it. They don't see it. They don't see it. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So they
have a weird, tense moment there that doesn't make any sense. I don't know how that was. It was just clouds.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's fine. They like crashed into it, sort of, but they docked. And then they start to go on to the
It's like a
Event
15-minute
Horizon.
sequence.
Yeah.
Of them just like shopping around. They're looking around
No, they're
with
shopping.
flashlights. There's like things floating.
The young guy sees the gravitational pull, and he like reaches into it, and it's liquid, and then it
like
pulls
the abyss,
him in.
it's borrowed from the abyss. He gets sucked in,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Oh, we gotta get you back, baby bear!" And they go in and they try and save him, and they pull him out, and he's like kind of fucked up. You're like, "What happened? Oh my God!" They're like, "We gotta get out of here!" And then there's an explosion that happens because of that.
Yeah,
it triggers and it fucks
ruins
up
their ship.
Their ship
so
gets
they
screwed
have
up.
to stay on the Event Horizon for 20 hours while they fix their ship, because that's all the
only
air that they have.
That's the only air they have on this giant ship.
Yeah, so they're working on the guy. Then he gets up and starts freaking out.
It's the dark.
Yeah.
The dark. You don't know what I've seen. And
Yeah,
you're like, well,
just,
that's
like
weird.
be specific, dude.
Yeah.
Like tell
It's
us what
very
you
cryptic.
saw.
And then Jason Isaacs has this weird moment where he like puts a knife up to the doctor's throat and he's like, you don't know what's happening. Everybody's getting kind of fucked up by this ship. And then they're like, where'd Baby Bear go? And Justin lets himself out of the airlock, but then he comes out of his trance right before it opens and he's like, Mama Bear, save me.
And then Laurence Fishburne flies in from space.
Yeah.
From space and tackles him back into the
As
chamber.
his veins and his eyeballs are
Everything's
exploding.
bleeding.
And you're, shit,
boy.
we have so much more to do. Okay, and then he's like, we gotta get off this ship. Something weird is happening. Basically, everybody starts imagining their guilt demons.
And Sam Neill's like, no, this is science. You're
is
going
it's
crazy.
gonna be fine.
You're insane.
And then Laurence Fishburne keeps seeing his burning buddy. The one woman keeps seeing her son with maggots on his legs. She follows him. She falls to her death. It's like, oh shit. The other guy, he gets ripped up, and Jason Isaacs gets hung up by threads, and his guts all out.
And then Sam Neill gets his eyes pulled out, and then
he pulls his own eyes out.
Well,
sort of.
His eyes
Yeah,
come out.
Sure.
And then they get back on their ship, and they're about to take off, but then we reveal Sam Neill has put a bomb on that ship,
Boom,
and
kills everybody
it blows
except
up.
Jolie Richardson,
And then
funny
they
guy,
come back,
Laurence
and they're
Fishburne.
like, the ship is alive, and Sam Neill's like, I'm gonna take you to hell.
And now he has his eyes again, and he's fighting. They fighting, and then Laurence Fishburne blows the bridge. They go off. Jolie Richardson, funny guy, and Sam Neill and him going to hell. And then, oh my God, we get rescued. Oh shit. Oh man.
So the reason that was so tough is because there were so many similar moments of just like people having freakouts.
Yeah, super. There's so many, but it's cool. I actually feel like the first hour of this movie does a good job of being like a slow burn sci-fi horror film. And then it goes to Crazy Town, which I love, but also think is a little bit of a detriment.
Here's what happens. Here's the first hour of the movie. Here's the last half hour of the movie, and there's supposed to be an hour in between. But they just put them together, and then you poke a hole in, and now we're here.
Now we're here.
Yeah.
There was, Guilty Movie Pleasure fans, if any of you, hopefully you're a fan if you're listening, if not, you're probably trolling, but it's fine. If any of you out there can find the VHS 130-minute cut of this movie.
Stop it, 130 minutes?
Please tweet me. please send it on YouTube or whatever. I scoured the internet because I found out that there's a 130-minute alternate cut of this movie.
Because this was a 97-minute movie.
It has a ton more story. It has a ton more gore, where it's like crazy violent. But there's a lot of stuff that they took out for pacing, but also because test audiences were like freaked out. Zach, good luck. I looked it up. I tried. I searched everywhere, but I'm not good at internet stuff. But so I'm like really intrigued. There's only supposedly a VHS copy of it in existence. Because they threw out the negatives. They weren't in like thinking of DVD features because DVDs didn't exist.
This should be Event Horizon 2 is the search for the Event Horizon VHS.
Oh my God. So let's get into this movie because we got plenty of time. We got a half hour to dive into this shit.
Damn.
We might not even need that much. So the first thing I wrote was 2047.
Yeah. Well, they give us like a great in-depth timeline of like what's happening. They can't just land us on where we are now.
2020, we colonize the moon.
We go to the moon.
We go to the moon again. We colonize Mars in 2030 something.
We start mining Mars, I think.
Mining Mars. And then 2047. Oh, no, it's Event Horizon disappears in 2040. It's supposed to do interdimensional travel. We don't know that yet. And then it reappears 7 years later.
Well, they think it didn't disappear. Like, everyone thinks that it burned up into flames, right? Everyone thinks that it was a failure.
Story.
Yeah.
But the truth is it had disappeared.
It disappeared into thin air.
Yes, and it has reappeared. And one of the first things I'd love to mention is that apparently in 2047 they still have CDs.
Yeah, hell yeah, they do.
Because they're like getting the captain's log and they hit like what looks like an old school CD radio in your car and she like yanks it out and I'm like, I love it.
Hell of an imagination.
I love 80s and 90s versions of the future where it's still like saddled by 80s and 90s actual technology, so they can't do anything fancier than
I mean, now
CD.
With that lack of foresight, are you surprised at all that this version of the movie only exists in VHS?
It's really bumming me out. I don't want to keep talking about it. We gotta find. You found it, Zach. If you find an actual copy of it, I'll give you $5. So then the first thing that happens is we have this really gory, this super gory body floating. Sam Neill wakes up. We get hints that his wife killed himself or something. Then there's that amazing, he gets put in the cryo chamber. And there's that amazing dream sequence where she's there with no eye. For some reason, if you go to hell on Event Horizon,
lose your eyes.
Your eyes go. You don't need eyes.
You don't need them.
You don't need them. And can we play the first bad Scream clip? Because she grabs him.
I'm waiting.
That scream is so funny to me. In fact, earlier today I ate some steak that I thought may be bad, and my stomach started hurting, and nothing happened. But my initial reaction was like, "Oh God, if I am in the toilet, I'm just gonna be like." Oh, it even made it sound like that.
Yeah. Well,
weird.
It's like the first time that I went to a doctor as an adult. I hadn't been to the doctor in a while.
Yeah.
Because you stop going.
Yeah.
After you leave the pediatrician.
Yeah.
Yeah. That took me a minute to get, but I got it. And they were like doing their normal checkup, and he like, it's like, I know the beginning of it, and if I start saying it, then I might get the whole word. And it worked.
That happens to me on a daily basis.
But so he like was doing his checkup, and then he like put the wooden stick in my mouth, and he was like, "Say I had forgotten how to do it properly, so I just like continued.
I thought you were gonna go with the route of they were like, "Hey, we got to test your prostate or something," and you're like, "Wait a minute." I love that Zach keeps fading it out for us, just like a slow fade out. It's too long of a scream.
Well, because the scream doesn't evolve. The scream stays.
It's very interesting.
I'm not even doing that. The scream is too powerful.
It's too powerful.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know,
my Netflix paused during the scream because it was like
this Blu-ray stopped. Legit at 58 minutes in, this Blu-ray stopped working, and I had to watch it on Netflix. And I was like, I own this. I just want to watch what I own. But for real, it did. And so now I gotta email Paramount or something, see if they ever respond.
They'll send you a VHS.
Send me the VHS.
I would like to trade my Blu-ray in for a VHS.
So apparently there was this whole sequence, by the way, that was deleted. That was never shot. It was storyboarded. It was in the script where the Laurence Fishburne, Captain Miller, and the team do a rescue mission. So Sam Neill's introduced, and you get a little backstory as to like what the event horizon was, how attached he is to it, which would have been really necessary and awesome for this plot to have that in there. And then there was a sequence where they show the team, you get introduced to everybody, and they pull off a rescue mission. So you're attached to the team more. But they were saying due to budget and things like that, and shooting sequences in zero gravity back in the 90s was very difficult, and so they just couldn't do it.
Interesting.
But how awesome would that have been if because I feel like you're thrown into this, like they wake up from the cryo chamber and they're like, this is this guy, that's that girl. You sort of know who they are.
It felt real, like I don't necessarily mean this in a disparaging way, but it felt super 90s in that.
Oh, yeah.
They like went around the room and were like, what's your role? Yeah. Tell us your name and your role.
I'm the medic.
Tell us your name and your role.
Hey, I'm the funny guy.
And then they say, okay, Sam Neill, what are we doing here? Which I feel like is a conversation that should have taken place
that never happens.
Months before.
That never happens in movies.
So these people are just like, we're on a mission. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah. I'll find out what the mission is 2 months later once we get
questions. There. I don't ask you. The mission is the mission. The mission. It's like, well, the mission, yeah.
But you should know details because you're the captain. Yeah. So you should know why you're on this mission.
The captain's chair was hilarious. It reminded me of the chair in Team America where it just kept moving.
Yeah. Well, it was like attached to the sky also.
Hanging.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it recently, it's hanging, and I couldn't stop laughing because Laurence Fishburne's so good, but every line he delivers is like, all right, guys, so what do you think about this? All right, we're gonna land the ship, and it's like it couldn't stay still. It's just always shifting.
We're in outer space, and he's on the ship.
It's always shifting a little bit, and it reminded me of in Team America when he's like, "All right, we gotta do this, people." Okay.
I hope that was character's choice, where he was like, "If I'm gonna be on a ship for 2 months, it's gonna be a chair with wheels.
I want this chair.
Stationary chairs bore me.
I want this chair to be it's like a mamaroo for a baby. It just maybe he sleeps in it. Maybe that's what it is.
Orthopedically sound.
There you go. That's what it is. It's all for his orthopedics.
Yeah, he had a bad back.
So then the doctor says the whole dimensional gateway thing, and we already talked at length in that. But and we touched on it in our 3-minute going over the plot. He plays their last transmission, and I can't. And all of them act really calm. Can we play the transmission from hell, please?
Fucking hell is that?
It's a great question.
Great question.
A lot of people ask good questions after the fact.
That's a great question. So, and then they boil it down. They're like, well, we were able to isolate this, and they have this like Latin phrase that means that then they keep that Dr. Weir doesn't know Latin. He's like, I have no idea what this is, and the medic guy does. It's like, wait a minute.
I have a lot of issues.
Dr. Weir would know Latin
with this specific moment. People are speaking in Latin. What? People don't. Latin is a dead language.
Well,
if you're gonna scream out, I suppose
it's because they're from hell.
I suppose
speaking in an archaic language.
B.
Demons haven't learned English yet.
I mean, that's
in this world,
but they do because they speak to the people on the ship. They like come when the hell is there.
But it's so much more fun when you have to just piece together the puzzle of what Latin is.
That is true. B. There's like a shrill scream that no one seems like. Let's put that aside and let's focus on the guy speaking calmly in Latin.
All these weird like
right, just sound like.
Can we just play it again because it's the stuff of nightmares, Zach?
And then 3, you know how
fucking hell is that?
Exactly.
Yeah, good point.
Exactly.
You know how
Alfred
they do like
from Gotham?
The enhance.
He plays Alfred in Gotham.
Enhance.
Yeah.
Enhance. You know how like they do that in TV
Why is
and
that
movies?
A thing?
But they didn't do that. Like the clip that you just heard is the clip that they ended up being like, I got it. I know what he's saying.
Because what they do is they pull out some bit of it. For some reason.
But he like just kept playing that sound.
It's really weird.
Like with the video, at least they like, all right, I'm going to run it through some filters and we'll figure this out. But the audio, he's just like, this is what I got. And I think I'm hearing this Latin guy. And I'm going to keep working on it. I'm going to keep listening to it until I can crack the code.
So already they're super calm about going on this ship where something clearly more than just like a kegger party happened because it sounds awful. If that plays again, I may shit my pants and run out of the room. It's the stuff of nightmares. So, thank you for the fade out. Oh, God, I hate that sound. Stop it, Zach! Stop it! You just made me shit my pants! I'll do it. So, anyways, we go.
What a weird threat. I'll do it. I'll
I
shit
will
my
shit
pants.
my
I
pants
will
in the
do
studio.
it. I will not
So-
get up. I will just shit right here.
There's a showing after this. They will not be happy. So they go on the ship, and it's fuck you. And they get on there, and everybody's really calmly walking around. There's stuff floating in the air. There's like watches and body parts and things. And
Liquid,
they
there's, like,
walk
liquid
by.
stuff.
What's that?
There's like liquid stuff.
Yeah, they walk by
unidentifiable.
this like super gory, like people's bodies just ripped inside out and exploded on the walls. They walk by and it flashes in lightning. I guess there's lightning where they are in a cloud near Neptune.
Sure.
And
Atmospheric pressure.
And then Laurence Fishburne's like, this place is dead, and he actually says a very foreshadowing line because it becomes many of their tomb. Can we play This Place Is a Tomb?
This place is a tomb.
And I love how he drags it out. This place is a tomb. And then a severed, frozen hand comes up and touches him. He's like, oh, shit! Oh, I love that moment. Pretty much. Yeah. This place is a tomb. Is there anything we can do with This Place Is a Tomb?
This place is a tomb.
This place is a tomb.
You know what I was gonna say? I was in the frozen pizza section the other day, and I was looking for things, and I was like, what do I want? What do I want? And then I went, ooh, and I opened it up and I said,
This place is a tomb.
Stone. Pizza.
Yeah.
Terrible.
God, I was trying to work
Damn
something.
you,
out.
Ben Begley.
That's, you know what?
I strive for mediocrity.
That's
every week.
The sound clip riff you get when the man has shit his pants and he's just
That's what
sitting in
happens.
his own poop.
That's what happens.
So there you go.
Jesse has to do it. You can't smell it. We don't have smell-o-vision, so you don't know what really happened here. I think we can leave This Place As a Tomb alone.
That one's tough.
That one's tough.
That one's real on the nose. So.
So then, we already talked about how well, let's get more into depth about. I always love in science fiction movies when there's clearly something someone shouldn't touch or go near, like the black hole in the middle. Like Sam Neill, even though he explained it very confusingly, that's a black hole that Justin is just like, whoa, cool.
Like maybe don't touch anything, because Sam Neill just like told you that the ship disappeared and came back
7 years later, and then you heard this super creepy thing,
and like there are dead people everywhere. Yeah, just avoid stuff.
So he gets sucked in there. We don't know what happens. Maybe he's in there for like 300 years and he's getting tied up to barbed wire.
That would be real cool.
And like, because they show scenes from him, like flashes of him wrapped in barbed wire and bleeding.
Yeah.
So like my vision is when you get sucked into hell, you're there for like centuries being tortured.
I like that.
Hellraiser style. And then you come back and you're like a shell of who you are. You're so shocked by it.
I wish he had come back as like an ancient person.
Or so, yeah,
Like, how
he had
cool would that
aged,
be?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. He Benjamin Buttoned it. Like,
Oh, that would have been great.
oh man, that
Missed opportunity.
Instead, he's just like, the dark. And when let's talk about the first crazy kill, because the gory stuff is the most fun in this movie, where he lets himself out the airlock and his veins start burning. I remember in the theater being like, oh shit! His veins start exploding.
They start coming out of his skin.
He flies out there. He's holding onto his eyeballs and blood just pouring out, which is weird because when they rescue him, I feel like his eyes are okay again. So this is the magic eye healing movie where they burst out of his head and his veins are exploding.
Well, and like, is that what happens when the pressure lock is open? Because the pressure lock opens later, and everyone is like pretty cool. Everyone like makes it through.
Yeah, let's jump ahead. Let's compare these two.
Okay,
scenes.
yes, let's do that.
Because
Perfect.
this is a good point. Because later on, so Justin, as soon as the pressure lock goes up, eyeballs explode, veins start popping out. Later on, we're talking like third act.
Also just like sort of slowly floats out.
Yeah.
Because Laurence Fishburne like jumps at him, and it's like almost slow-mo the way he like.
Cut to
Yeah.
third act about where Sam Neill turns around and now he's possessed by. We'll get to how he gets possessed because it sort of makes sense. And he's ripped out his own eyes and he shoots a hole in the glass. Because the other funny guy comes back, we're skipping a whole lot, but it's because I want to divulge into how different it is when the glass
He's
bursts.
got a gun and he shoots the window
harpoon
open.
gun.
A harpoon, yeah. He shoots the window open. The glass breaks in the window.
And suddenly it's like the air got sucked out of a 747 jet. Where
yeah.
people are like, things are flying like, whoa!
It's clear. It's like the greatest pressure that you would have to endure.
And he gets sucked out.
Like one of them's holding on to the grate, and the grate starts to fold back because of how much pressure there is.
But back to Justin.
Yeah.
So it doesn't match Justin's at all. Where Justin, that's the way they set it up. So they break the rules in this movie. Where it's like.
Because they're exposed to it for like at least 30 seconds, and nothing happens to their veins or eyes. Nothing. They're just totally cool.
The pressure hasn't even fully opened yet, and his veins are going. So we'll get to that end Crazy Town scene pretty soon. But I had to just juxtapose those two because it's nuts. It doesn't make. It's out of two different movies.
Makes no sense.
Zero sense. If there's any physics or majors out there that would understand how either of those are they're probably both wrong. So he gets super fucked up by it, and Laurence Fishburne is like, "We're out of here." And can we play the ship is fucked line, please?
Smitty, have you seen anything unusual at all?
No, I haven't seen anything, and I don't need to see anything, sir, but I can tell you. This ship is fucked.
There we go.
Just boil it down.
You know, he's the one. Smitty's got. He knows what's going on. He's the one who first says, "What the fuck was that?" He says, "The ship is fucked."
Yep.
He's British. He's on top of it.
He knows his shit.
He's like, "We got to get out of here."
He knows a possessed inanimate object when he sees one.
Yeah. You know, actually, there was a deleted scene. Titanic was originally R-rated. I don't know if you knew this.
I did not know that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, and when they first hit the iceberg and it was wrecking and Jack was looking around, he went up to one of the musicians and they're still playing and he looked at him and he was like...
This ship is fucked.
Because he was still pretty calm.
Yeah.
And they kept fucking playing. He's like, this ship is fucked,
Stop
dude.
playing. This
we
ship
gotta
is
get
fucked.
out of here.
When I was 5 years old and I was playing in the bathtub, I was kind of a dick.
Yeah. Everybody was at 5.
Not as much as I was, because let me tell you, my mom came in. She like gave me a bunch of toys, and she gave me like a ball and like a little sponge, and then she gave me a ship. And the little flag on the ship was cracked. It wasn't even broken. It was just cracked. And I took it and I threw it at her, and I was like,
"This ship is fucked."
In with that bass in my voice.
You should. That was impressive.
Yeah.
I used to get really competitive playing board games when I was a kid, and I was playing Battleship with my grandma. This is the first time I ever got my mouth washed out with soap, because we're playing, and I had one chip left, she had one chip left, and she sunk my battleship, and I picked it up and I threw it at her, and I said,
"This ship is fucked."
And then she like dug that dial soap into my molars. It was brutal.
When I was playing Little League Baseball, we were playing for the championship, and we were cool, so like we shortened all our words.
Yeah.
And they had the bases loaded. We were up by 1. They had the bases loaded, and our pitcher threw it right down the middle, and the guy hit the longest home run in recorded Little League history. And as I was watching the ball fly out of the stadium, I was like,
"This ship is fucked."
I don't understand baseball terms. I don't get it. People were watching baseball in the lobby. I didn't understand. This ship is fucked. So now...
It's America's game.
We find out that Jason Isaac acts possessed because the doctor's like, you can't... The ship is blah, 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 blah. He's like defending the ship. And Jason Isaac grabs the scalpel and like puts it up to his neck. And people are starting to act weird. Like this ship is affecting them.
Yeah.
And we find out that it's alive and it's fighting back. Like it has some sort of... defense mechanism.
Yeah, they describe it as a defense mechanism.
Yeah, to protect itself. And then they're like, I don't know if everything's okay. And that's where, before Justin lets himself out the airlocks, there's that weird like banging at the metal door where there looks like there's these giant hands trying to get through.
Yeah, and throughout...
I wish they had done more of that.
Because they never explained what that was. And that was like... Sam Neill's big thing was like, you guys are delusional, and that was one where Sam Neill was sitting in and saw it.
Yeah,
and he like his reaction.
But
was
I think the ship swayed him earlier. Is what they were getting at. Is that he was?
That he was already
like as soon as he went into the super creepy green hallway where he fixed the panel.
Yeah.
And heard his wife's voice. I think he was starting to turn to the dark side. They just didn't fully develop that well enough.
Yes, it was just very muddled.
Because just out of nowhere, he's just like, he's just super full on just. Bad guy. And in fact, there's that moment where they finally translate the Latin and he's like, save me is what they thought it was.
Right.
Then they realize not only is it not save me, it's save yourself from hell.
From hell
is what Jason Isaacs translates.
Be sure about it.
Yeah.
When you're going into a situation like this,
also,
save me.
If you know Latin, 4 words, save yourself from hell. That's not that difficult to translate.
Yeah.
It's not like you had to I don't know.
Well, to be fair, I took 3 semesters of Latin in school, and I was unable to do it.
Still don't remember it.
Yeah, couldn't.
It's a dead language. It's okay.
Possibly. That's what I'm saying.
So now they're like, hey, the ship is, we got 20 minutes to fix this. It's almost done. We're going to get out of here. And Laurence Fishburne he's a man on a mission. Can we play fuck this ship? Because he's out of here.
I will take the Lewis and Clark to a safe distance, and then I will launch attack missiles at the event horizon until I'm satisfied she's vaporized. Fuck this ship.
Oh, yeah. Fuck this ship. I feel like we already did a bunch of this ship is fucked. So I don't know what else.
Fuck this ship.
Fuck this ship. Oh man, he's a badass in that moment. And then he gets into this thing like, we're gonna leave, and this is where we were talking about where Sam Neill just completely out of nowhere does a full 180.
Yeah.
Where he goes from Doctor Dude to creepy Shadow Heart of Darkness dude. Like
because
Apocalypse Now.
He goes to
the horror. Horror. You know?
The black hole. He like goes into that room, and he has a vision of his wife killing herself, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, he sees a vision of her, and she looks at him, and she has no eyes, and then she reaches down to his face.
But that's after this.
No, that's where he turns, right?
No, because he says you can't. Before that, he says you can't leave.
Yeah.
So when he's saying this ship is fucked, can we play the "You can't leave"? She won't let you. Zach?
You can't leave. She won't let you.
That sounds so much like how he would talk about a velociraptor in Jurassic Park, doesn't it? Like, they're so clever.
It sounds a little bit like Anthony Hopkins.
You can't leave.
Would speak as him.
She won't let you.
She won't let you.
You can't. You know, sometimes when I'm gonna have a baby in November, and I keep making jokes about how I want to go to movies still every once in a while, and I have a feeling that my in-laws, if I keep harping at this, when the baby's born, they're just gonna show up at the front door when I'm trying to leave, and they're just gonna be like,
"You can't leave. She won't let you."
And I'll look back at my wife and be like, "Yeah, that's true.
That's absolutely
that's
right.
absolutely true."
Are they referring to your wife or your baby?
Both.
Both.
She won't let you.
We moved about 8 months ago now, and when we moved, it my dog started peeing inside, and she had never done that before. But she started peeing inside, but only when we would leave the house, and I think she was just upset by the change in scenery a little bit. But she'd be totally fine when we were there. We would leave for 5 minutes, we'd come back, and she would have peed in the house. So every time I wanted to go out to the ice cream truck and get an ice cream cone, I would look back. It's every day. Every time I hear The Entertainer, I would look back at my dog and I would say to myself,
"You can't leave. She won't let you."
Your inner voice is very astute and British sounding.
Well, because when you speak in a British accent, you sound smarter.
Yep.
So I like my inner voice to be
I have a
British.
theory that if there was a brain surgeon with a Southern accent and a British accent, the British one could be terrible at their job, and the Southern one could be, and I'm talking like full on, like, "Hey, dingle, scoot and pooter, snatch at the hoot and scoot," that kind of Southern, not just like, "I'm a little bit of a Southern belle, nice to meet you." I feel like
that's kind of soothing.
Yeah,
kind of like that
if
guy.
it was that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like full on the farm, that kind of Southern accent.
Right.
People would be like, "I'm going with the British guy."
Yeah.
Even though, that's what I'm just saying, guys.
And Yelp would give him like 1 star.
Don't judge a book by their accent, all right?
It's excellent advice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This shit is
Let's
fucked.
stop the accent discrimination, all right? So now we're going to have, so this is the part you were talking about where he goes in the room, goes to the Gravitron. Sure, Gravitron
Yep, that's
thing.
what it's called.
I think that's a transformer.
Yep.
And he sees his wife with no eyes, and like she's naked and it's creepy. Like I always am weirded out when there's nudity and it's like a creepy sequence because you're like, boobs. Oh, this is a really weird sequence.
Weird.
Fuck, I have so many conflicting emotions right now.
It's like all the nudity in this movie was like
Creepy.
unnecessary and creepy.
Yeah,
nudity.
it's like I don't like creepy.
They're like,
nudity.
we would like to turn you against nudity for the rest of your adolescence.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
It you get an innie instead of an outie. Anyways,
We're talking about belly buttons.
talking about belly buttons.
Belly button talk. Hashtag belly button talk.
So he drops down and starts seemingly tearing out his own eyeballs.
Yeah.
And then Laurence Fishburne's trying to get out of there, and Jolie Richardson is the only one. Jodie or Jolie? Jolie Richardson? Jolie Richardson. They're the only 2 left alive because funny guy, I forget his name, Cooper. Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
He's hanging out in space. He gets launched off when the ship blows up because we find out that Weir blew up the ship with Smitty, the smart guy.
Poor Smitty.
Poor Smitty dies. Cooper gets launched out. Oh, we didn't even talk about how what's his name? Fuck, the
Justin?
Latin guy gets strung up by hooks, and his guts are laid out on the table.
Yeah.
By
Jason Isaacs.
Super bad. Like that's super Clive Barker right there.
It was that part was like he had already an incision in his stomach,
like
which,
from an open heart surgery.
I guess I don't know. There were a lot of things that left unexplained.
And then just,
but yeah. So I guess they just like opened him back up. Sam Neill did, right?
Yeah.
Was it Sam Neill? Yeah. And then hooked him up to the ceiling and just let
everything
his blood and guts fall out onto the surgeon's table.
Super gross. How cool would it have been if I read that in the original? I think I read this, or maybe I just thought it in my head, which is twisted.
It to be true.
Is that his intestines were hanging out and he was still alive, and he like
that's
what it was. Actually, I did read that, where he was screaming and Laurence Fishburne shot him in the head to ease his to take his suffering away, to like end it.
There's a lot of things that they could have done. That would have been real cool.
That would have been awesome. Because if you're like,
Justin
oh shit, he's dead, and then it's like,
that would have been terrifying.
That would have been
if
so
he had,
scary.
Like, started flipping out, hanging on those hooks.
I would have been like,
come on.
That would have been so good. So now we're at the point where Cooper gets launched off into space, and George Clooney from Gravity should have followed Cooper's advice, because George Clooney just kind of lets himself float off and be like, because I'm really charming and
George Clooney was like, I lived my life. I'm out.
I'm out.
That's it.
Sorry if you haven't seen Gravity, we just ruined that, but it happens pretty early on in the movie. So Cooper has this really funny line where he says something like, I'm back, motherfuckers, or what is it? As he shoots.
Here I come, motherfuckers!
That's when he's shooting his air jet boots off.
Yeah.
To get back to the ship, which he's really far away from.
But he's real precise. Flying through space, all you need is one jetpack.
Yep. Because he lands right on the window.
On the window.
Right when we've learned that Sam Neill is from his eyes are gone, and actually Laurence Fishburne, Captain Miller asks him about his eyes, and he does a full Doc Brown about it. Can we play We Won't Need Eyes? Clip B. Clip B.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
What happened to your eyes?
Where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
We won't need eyes to see. Like he goes, he's just total Hannibal Lecter once he like.
Hannibal Lecter and Doc Brown is what Dr.
We won't need eyes.
We won't need roads or eyes to see. Is it just me, or Laurence Fishburne sounds very soothing in that beginning when he's like, oh my God. And it also reminds me of Tommy Boy. Oh my God. That's just what I think when I hear that.
He was like just about to start recording his R&B track.
It's really soothing. And
he's like,
what happened to you? Like if I had a doctor.
Oh my God.
Like if I had a doctor who was like,
Roses on the bed.
Who was like, what happened to your eyes? You'd be like, oh, I'm super relaxed now. I can tell you about my eyes.
I'd be like, are you saying they're beautiful?
Yeah.
Is that?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's the most like super seductive way to say it ever.
He like Laurence Fishburne's super into the no eyes look. He's like,
he's had a fetish his whole life for no eyes, and he's like, oh fuck, finally.
Oh, thank you.
I can listen to, I want that to be my text message sound wherever I'm in public, and it's just, people just, imagine being on the subway and that comes on and be like, what?
Yeah.
What? Oh, Jesus. Oh, shit, I could laugh at that. So this is the part where he shoots the grappling hook, or the harpoon.
Yeah.
Because Cooper has the amazing accuracy to land on the window of right where they're talking.
Yeah.
And then then of course he turns around, and first off Laurence Fishburne goes, hey, if you miss me, you'll break the hull. And then he goes, what makes you think I'll miss? Cooper shows up, he aims directly for the fucking window, breaks the hull of the ship.
A lot of things are going on here that we have to unpack.
A lot of things to unpack in the 7 minutes we have left.
Not a problem. I'm going to go quick. One, Laurence Fishburne looks at the guy and he's dead. And his concern is what happened to your eyes. Like he lost his eyes, he's bleeding out of his eyes. He's up, walking, moving around, holding a gun. He's like, wait, man, are your eyes okay?
Well, he's not dead because he's talking, though.
But he's like been to hell. You know what I mean?
He
like,
doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that, but like...
Yeah.
A man bleeding out of his eyes with no, like his eyes have been removed, like walking around on his own volition. I would have other questions.
I would have other questions
from,
too.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, are you okay?
And then the whole thing with breaking the hull.
And then the whole thing with like, what makes you think I'll miss? Well, as we just addressed, you have no eyes.
You have no eyes.
So that.
And that's what it is. He has no eyes. So when he hears somebody, he just turns. I didn't even think about that. He just turns around and shoots. First off, could they actually hear him through that glass, through his spacesuit, in that spaceship?
He had a lot of enthusiasm. So
I mean,
maybe
I think there's a little soundproofing on spaceships in outer space.
Perhaps.
But he shoots,
this is the future. You don't know.
He shoots through the glass. And like we talked about earlier, the glass explodes and everybody starts getting sucked out like it's a 747 like it's World War Z when they blast open the door.
And Laurence Fishburne, this is my favorite part of the movie. Laurence Fishburne grabs onto a rope and just the strength of his hands fights against the greatest pressure he'll ever come against.
Meanwhile, Jolie Richardson gets knocked out and thrown to the side and somehow isn't sucked out.
She's like in a bunker.
You just need to get knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
If you're ever in a plane and you lose altitude, just get knocked unconscious.
Don't fight it. Just go limp.
Go limp.
You're
That's
fine.
what she does.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't show up till the door's about to shut, and then she's like, Captain! He's like, I won't leave you! Like every hero in the 80s and 90s said.
Yeah.
Grabs her through.
So he goes back out with the stream of the pressure to grab her hand.
Brings her in.
Brings her back
barely.
in. Because he won't leave anyone behind, as we established
And
earlier.
then Cooper and her get in the main chamber, and he's like, I'm going to blow the bridge, which they clearly foreshadow early on.
Everything that happened, they foreshadow.
Everything that happened.
In a very clear way.
Yeah. So they go on the bridge, the main part of it, or the rescue pod of it. Jolie Richardson and Cooper, he blows the bridge. Well, before he blows the bridge, him and Sam Neill, the Burning Man comes back. His fallen soldier that he left behind. They reveal that he feels guilt-ridden over his soldier being left behind. 3 minutes. Oh shit!
And he's just like throwing fire at him.
And he's like, "You're not him. He's dead." And then Sam Neill appears, eyes fully healed. He just cuts everywhere.
And he has no hair.
And bald.
Yeah.
Which in the there's deleted scenes that they cleared up where what happened was we forgot there's that blood. The blood fills the water for some reason and explodes all over Jolie Richardson's character. What happened was that he was reborn in blood. There was a scene where he puts his hand up there and it reveals Sam Neill's in there. And he bursts through, and then when she's running off with Cooper, he comes spider crawling down like The Exorcist, fully naked, bald, and so what they were trying.
There's no reason this extended cut should not have been released.
Right?
Like, this
much
sounds
better.
amazing.
So he gets sucked out of the ship and is somehow reborn as bald and eyes cut up and with eyes again. And he fights him.
Here's what I assumed, because he had no hair and he had cuts all over his face, that he shaved his head, but since he had no eyes, he was just like going willy-nilly.
And then his eyes grew back and he was like, what did I do?
I should have waited.
So Laurence Fishburne blows the bridge, and Jolie Richards, I can't remember her character's name, it's really bugging me, but Cooper, Peters, that's her name. Peters and Cooper survive, and Captain Miller and Dr. Weir, a.k.a. new reborn Hellbeast, get sucked into the black hole in hell. And before that, we get another creepy glimpse of hell when he grabs Laurence Fishburne's head and blood starts pooling down. Yeah. And you see all these awful images, like people getting like arms shoved through their mouths and like people are getting sodomized. It was like it's really weird.
The video that they had that
Times
they
like
cleared
10.
up, but I think that it was like a lot of what was going on there.
It's terrifying. So. And then it ends with another nightmare sequence where you're like, Peters is stuck in hell too. Oh! And then she wakes up and they're fine, but then the door's shut. And I remember in theaters when the doors shut on them, I was like, they're still stuck. Because wouldn't the ship still be possessed? But then the gravitron thing isn't there anymore, so I guess not.
I don't know.
Like what? We don't know because they never made a sequel. They should have made
They will.
Paul W.S. Anderson.
They will.
Make an Event Horizon 2.
Hey, everyone out there, tweet it. Paul W.S. Anderson.
Hashtag Event Horizon 2. Hashtag GMP.
Hashtag Belly Button Talk.
Hashtag, you know what?
But you know what? Drop that one just for the purposes of Paul.
Laurence Fishburne and I share a similar love for this movie because after I got done watching this movie, I just looked at it and went, "Oh my god!" There we go.
Oh my god.
That's how I feel.
And
about
then you
this
held
movie.
it close and cradled
I held it close and I cradled it because it took me to hell.
I did want to point out. I know we're
wrapping up.
We're almost
We're wrapping up.
One more thing that we didn't touch on that we need to point out: there was a fail-safe switch when the black hole was going crazy, and they were like, it's probably the fail-safe, or probably just have to hit the fail-safe switch. And then he had to crawl through a maze of circuits to get to the fail-safe. Just put that on the wall. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's like having an emergency shut-off valve for a hot tub that's like in someone's apartment.
Yeah, here's
underneath,
the map.
Yeah, in their cupboard.
Wait, what? Why isn't this emergency valve
this doesn't make any
readily
sense.
available?
This movie's a blast. It's gory. It's super silly. It terrified me as a kid and makes me laugh and cheer as an adult. I had a blast watching this movie. I hope you did too. Next week we're doing the 80s punk rock zombie classic Return of the Living Dead. If you haven't seen this movie, please watch it before we talk about it next week. It's awesome. It has gore, it has camp humor, it has a super hot naked zombie that walks around. She's this punk rock girl who's naked for half the movie. If I haven't enticed you, you're watching the wrong show. It's awesome. Watch Return of the Living Dead before we talk about it next week because we're gonna have a blast with that.
And it has Living Dead returning.
Yes, and there's a subtitle track where you can read the zombie's thoughts, and it's hilarious. So watch it with the zombie thought subtitle track, and we're going to talk about it next week. Jesse, where can they find you?
At Too Much Jesse, promlosers.com, 86 Charles.
Yes, you can find me at The Ben Begley, at Guilty Movie Guys. Fuck you! At Funhouse Mass. Funhouse Massacre, big announcement. Funhouse Massacre is coming out on, Jesus Christ. Funhouse Massacre is coming out on Showtime and Hulu this month. I'll get specific dates hopefully for you next week, but we are coming out on Showtime and Hulu, so if you haven't seen it, you're going to be able to see it for free. All I ask is that you tweet at me what you thought of it after you see it. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, God damn it.
You guys are going to have to clean
What
this
is
shit
your
up.
guilty movie pleasure?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.